please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white?
Peace, family. You're tuned into Reality Speaks Soul Vibers Nation, another Real Freedom Productions. We have with us the legendary Baba Tunji from the Soul School Institute, UNIA, and a couple other organizations that he actually represents. But here in Baltimore, which we call Tubman City, this brother's been doing a lot of work in the Tubman City area. He sponsors a tour, a Malcolm X tour that they've been doing now for 11 years that they've been doing it. So every year on Malcolm's birthday, they do an actual tour. So we call this event the Second Crucifixion of Malcolm X. And we pretty much got that title from a book from Dr. John Henry Clark, which is called The Second Crucifixion of Nat Turner, a white guy by the name of William Strong, who tried to actually take a brother like Nat Turner, and he had him with homosexual tendencies, lusting after white women, to take one of our heroes from the past and actually crucify our heroes instead of lifting them up, of course. So we come together with the Soul School Institute to put this event together because we're going to take a stand. We're not going to let them, from somebody like Malcolm X, who brought me into the movement, but probably brought you into the movement, probably. I don't know the exact story, but I know he had a great influence on you.
Yeah, absolutely. In my generation, Malcolm X was the spokesperson for black nationalism. Wasn't no question. Wasn't really anybody else that could say it the way that Malcolm said it. I first was aware of Malcolm when I was a student at Morgan. I remember the day that Malcolm was killed. I was in the student union lounge, and a friend of mine came in with a black armband on. And so I asked him, why did he have the black armband? He said, his hero had just been killed. I said, who was that? He said, Malcolm X. And at the time, I really didn't know who Malcolm X was. You know, I was, about 19 or 20 years old. But by the time we founded the Soul School, the original Soul School in '68, Malcolm's name was almost a household word among militant black youth at that time. And then over a period of time, his legend grew, his legacy grew to the point that it is today. And to see anybody desecrate his memory or say anything that we know is not only just negative, but absolutely untrue, it requires us, Jabari, myself, all black nationalists, to hit the streets and to make sure that people are aware that what is being said about Malcolm is untrue, is part of the Europeans' continuing campaign to try and destroy his image.
On the State of the City, we introduce to some and reintroduce to others, again, the Honorable Baba Dick Gregory. Peace be unto you, Baba.
God bless you, my brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and peace and love to you and the family and all your listeners. And again, I just cannot tell you what a voice like yours means.
Thank you.
To humankind.
Yes.
And so now you look at this book. Now here's what this book is about.
Yes.
They thought they'd wipe Malcolm X out.
Right.
With his biography, with all the lies.
That's right.
And the movie did kind of. But now, right now, all over the world,
yes,
the biography of Malcolm X is vicious and lying, is mandatory reading in grade schools.
That's right.
High schools.
That's right.
Undergrad, grad school, PhD.
That's right.
This is why. Now listen at the name of the book. What's the name of the book?
It's called The Life of Reinvention.
Okay, what? Did you hear that?
Reinvention.
Reinvent this
right.
Negro,
yes, sir,
to show you he ain't nothing.
That's right. That's right.
Okay?
There's been that effort all along. They've always tried to make pretend Malcolm was somehow always changing. When Denzel Washington did the interview for his portrayal of Malcolm X, he was talking about Malcolm was always changing. Like every 24 hours, Malcolm was changing. And we got a new Malcolm. And yet, at the same time, when you look at Martin Luther King, poor Martin is always stuck in August 1963. Martin never changes, but Malcolm is always changing every 24 hours. So that was the first effort that they were trying to make to turn Malcolm into something that he was not.
What does Malcolm X mean to you? What do you think of when you hear Malcolm X?
When I think of the name Malcolm X, I think about transformation. Revolutionary consciousness, ongoing personal change and development.
I think Malcolm X is a great leader. He led the African Americans, and that's about it.
Malcolm X is a great man, a great thinker. He was somebody, I have a great deal of admiration for him because he didn't just take what people told him, he went and looked for himself. And when he found out for himself, he tried to spread the truth. And the unfortunate thing about people who listen to others instead of finding out for themselves is they tend to be a little zealot about it. And he was an unfortunate victim of that.
While we're talking about this topic, Malcolm X and Manny Marvel in his new book, brother, how you feel about that situation?
Well, when I first heard about the book and some of the accusations that he was making, especially on the premise of homosexuality in Malcolm X's life, I got kind of frustrated and upset. I'm not a Muslim nor a Christian, but if somebody goes into a church and says that, oh, you know, Jesus was a homosexual,
right?
How would the Christian community feel?
Right.
What would they do? They would be outraged.
How did Alex get famous? He didn't become famous from the book.
Right.
He became famous for all of the articles he was doing in Playboy magazine, which went world renowned.
That's right.
And that means he wasn't writing them. The senior editor of Playboy magazine was writing them.
Right.
He wrote Roots.
Right. Murray Fisher.
Murray Fisher.
Murray Fisher.
He wrote Roots.
That's right.
He wrote the Malcolm thing.
Now this book, Baba, they were saying was 3 missing chapters from the autobiography
Of Alex.
Of Alex, and this lawyer, Gregory Reed in Chicago, said he purchased it for $100,000 at an auction back in 1992.
Yeah, I met him a couple of weeks ago in Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
And he told me, and I was meaning to get with him.
Right.
And had to run for a plane.
Right.
But this is what we're talking about, right?
Right.
Look, in Alex's book, it said on page 123 that I told Malcolm about Elijah Muhammad's women.
Right.
Okay?
That's right.
Now, I live around the corner from Elijah. I went around, showed it to him, and said, they must be trying to get y'all to do something to me.
Right.
I said, listen, I love Malcolm, and I love you.
Yes.
Huh?
That's right.
I said, I would tell you something on Malcolm before I would tell Malcolm something on you.
That's right.
You know, period.
Right.
Okay? So now, the one thing I wanted to do was get the book and see what kind of lies they had in there about me.
That's right.
My name do show up in 3 different pages,
Yes.
but
Yes, sir.
Look, let's go back now.
Yeah.
So when Malcolm is dead, that's a different book that come out.
That's
We
right.
all knew he was with Malcolm, so nobody questioned, is this what Malcolm told him?
Right. This is Alex Haley we're talking about here.
Yes. Now, think about this here. I want you all listening to see your toilet. And if you got a phone, you can walk into your toilet right now and look at that toilet.
That's right.
Okay? Now, look at the water in there.
Yes.
Now, I lived in a house where our pipe froze every winter. But before the pipe froze, the water in the toilet commode froze first
Yes, sir.
because there wasn't nothing to protect it.
Right.
So now, think about Malcolm's getting a conk, okay? And now his head is burning, and they can't get no water because all the pipes is froze.
Right.
So he runs in the bathroom
Yes.
and sticks his head. Now, think about your head.
Right.
How far you'd have to put your head in that water, it would go up your nose.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, plus it would be froze.
It was
Now,
frozen.
what are they saying?
Yes.
Oh, man, if I read a story where George Wallace ran into the toilet and put his head in a commode where people do-do,
Right.
I love it.
Yes, sir.
That's where you got to look at them little, but it didn't work.
Right.
I think of Malcolm X, when I hear Malcolm X, I think of power, I think of strength, I think of the unity amongst all our black people and amongst all our people as a whole, and our knowledge and our intelligence as a people as a whole.
I think about a strong black man. Think about a man who fought what he believed in. But yeah, I thought he was a great man.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Powerful leadership guidance. The 3 words there. Powerful guidance through leadership.
I know he's an human rights activist, and he fight for people's rights. And yeah, I actually have his picture on my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are you from, brother?
I'm Nigerian.
And had you heard of Malcolm before you came to the States?
No.
Anything else you'd like to say about him?
We need people more like that to be around to help fight for not only black people, Americans, and fight for your world.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
But I think that his heart was about trying to make us a better people and about trying to give us a better life and giving us a way to do that. I don't necessarily subscribe to the by any means necessary philosophy, but I think that it has its place. And I think that he did the best he could with the time that he had here on Earth.
His determination, his stick-to-itness, his revolutionary ideologies have some credence, but I think he's been misrepresented in a lot of the media in a negative fashion. He was a great brother, had great ideas. I don't think the world was ready for him yet, but that's why I'm glad we got this book coming out, so folks like you and me and these brothers and sisters out here can read up and get more knowledge and learn how to become a better human. Try to change things because the system's kind of messed up.
So basically, the event is dealing with Manning Marable's book. Have you read the book in its entirety? All right. Give us a quick critique review.
The way I sort of summarize my criticism of the book is I went past, a lot of folks are talking about the more salacious gossip stuff, alleged homosexuality, alleged infidelity, things like that, and which are poorly sourced. I mean, that part is to whatever extent those things are true, they're not really well sourced in the book. My real concern with the book, and I put this out just in this past week's Black Agenda report, is sort of like like a final statement, because I feel like I've been kind of obsessed with it. And he let it rest for a minute. Is that there's sort of an overall tone that Marable takes with the book that is a little more complicated and nuanced than dealing with something specific in terms of a gossip item or something that's not, or is not well sourced or referenced. And the general tone, as I'm arguing, is it's an attack on the radical politics of Malcolm X. It's a desire in the post 9/11 publishing world, in the post Obama publishing world of needing to shape radical figures and radical politics to accept today as it is, to say that today is progress, or that today is an extension of the politics of Malcolm, or the movement that Malcolm X was a part of, the global anti-imperial, anti-colonial, anti-white supremacist struggle. He in fact says that Malcolm's discussion of a black nationalist use of the vote in Ballad of the Bullet, in that speech, he says, quote unquote, anticipated the use of the vote in 2008 among black people to get Obama elected. Now this is just a sort of, again, in conclusion, what I'm arguing he kind of does throughout the book. And if you look carefully at the book, the way he does sort of drive-by assaults on Kwame Nkrumah, for instance, or sort of he mutes the tone of Malcolm's movement towards, if not full-on socialism, but very, at least massively redistributive politics. We need to redistribute the wealth. We need to redistribute the flow of power and resources to the top 1% to the rest of the world. However you want to call that, that's where Malcolm was going. Right. He mutes, and in fact, in one point of the book says, and I'm forgetting exactly who he was talking about, but he says in one point that somebody predicted Malcolm's eventual denunciation of gun clubs. But he never sources this. He never acknowledges, or he never explains where that comes from. He never shows us where Malcolm actually does denounce gun clubs, and I've not found where he does. In fact, up until a month before the assassination, Malcolm is giving speeches saying we need to have a Mau Mau in the United States, and I would join it, and so on and so forth. So my point is that all the more radical politics of Malcolm X, or that he represents, are softened in the book, so that Marable can make a very safe, mainstream liberal conclusion that will honestly sell books to white audiences, and that's really, I think, who the target is here. So maybe that's something I should have even started with, that the book is not designed to reach black youth or to radicalize black youth, which is what I think is really the only purpose for Malcolm X in 2011. I think Malcolm X would have acknowledged that as his only purpose when he was alive. And certainly we know the counterintelligence program later said we want to make sure black youth are not radicalized. They specifically made that point.
Do you think that, once again, the FBI, who were involved in most things dealing with Malcolm X, do you think that their hand is in it once again?
Well, the FBI is just an extension of this government.